Business in Mendi hesitant to resume operations. Damages in Mendi compared to Bougainville crisis. And cocoa farmers to receive seedlings.
This is the National EMTV News with Helen Sayer.
Good evening and thank you for joining me for Saturday's news. EMTV crew visited Mendi town yesterday and confirmed that the township was quiet, but people are on high alert. The buildings are still smoldering and businesses are still hesitant to resume operations. Vasinata Yama files this story.
At around 4:30 p.m. yesterday, the town was quiet and empty, with only security forces patrolling the streets. These are the pictures of the public properties that have been set alight and some being destroyed. These are the remains of the Mendi National Courthouse. The double-story building was renovated and opened in 2015. Opposite the National Courthouse are the District Courthouse and DPI, which were also burnt down to ashes. We then went to Mendi Airport. On the tarmac lies the Link PNG aircraft burnt by protesters. Only the tail and both wings survived the attack. All the other parts were burnt and covered under engine oil. The Air Niugini office, check-in and arrivals were ransacked. Southwest Aviation and Airline Company was also destroyed. People are on high alert after the state of emergency was declared. Vasinata Yama, National EMTV News, Mount Hagen.
Some of the men involved in the rampage in Mendi town have welcomed the government's appointment of former fraud squad detective Thomas Elu as the state of emergency controller. Some of them who were involved in the burning down of the Link PNG aircraft said they are relieved by the decision. However, they want the appointment to be permanent until the recent court decision on the election petition case is being reviewed or appealed and a decision is made.
Spoke to EMTV News off camera that the decision of SOE and the appointment of Thomas Elu could have been done earlier to prevent such riots from happening. They say they want Elu because they view him as the most neutral person in this conflict. The group said the burning down of the plane was not planned, but it coincidentally happened during the time they received news that the case was dismissed. They say they acted out of frustration and felt that justice has been denied. They expected the decision to be on their favor, but it turned out the opposite. They are now calling on the Prime Minister and the National Executive Council to conduct a commission of inquiry into the Electoral Commissioner's decision in declaring the governor's seat under special circumstances. However, they assure the public that they will keep calm as long as Elu is in charge. Vasinata Yama, National EMTV News, Mount Hagen.
The Papua New Guinea Law Society has described the burning down of the Mendi National Courthouse this week as a direct attack on the rule of law. PNG Law Society President Dr. Virgil Narakobi said courthouses are a safe space for Papua New Guineans to seek justice free from harassment and intimidation. Narakobi said never in the history of PNG has the rule of law directly been challenged. Representing over 1,200 lawyers in Papua New Guinea, Narakobi is now calling on the arrest and prosecution of those believed to be involved. PNG Trade Union Congress General Secretary John Pasca has issued a strong statement condemning the political demonstration in Mendi. Comparing it to the Bougainville crisis, he said it was totally unjustifiable and barbaric. He has also made various calls on the government to address the issue, starting by holding those responsible accountable, including the politicians in question.
Trade Union Congress General Secretary John Pasca has strongly condemned the political demonstration in Mendi as a barbaric act of terrorism by no-brainers and criminals.
Mindless acts, barbaric acts, disgusting and despicable acts.
He compared the Mendi civil unrest to the Bougainville crisis as totally unjustifiable.
The Bougainville had ideological underpinnings. There were reasons for it, and they could be justified. Whether you agreed with them or not, they could defend their actions. The loss of an election decision handed down by the National Court at Waigani is no justification whatsoever for these kinds of destruction.
He said it was deeply disturbing that people could commit such callous and despicable acts of barbarism without any remorse.
And they took joy and pride in doing these kinds of things. That makes it even worse. So what kind of people are we dealing with here?
Pasca added it was an especially sad day in the stellar lifespan of Air Niugini and for workers who have devoted their days to keeping the plane in the sky domestically and internationally.
You know, if you're an international traveler, you come out of Singapore or any other international airport, you look for this bird of paradise. And you feel proud that your country is coming to pick you up to come home. And to see Air Niugini lying like that, in tatters, burning, I'm sure a lot of staff of Air Niugini would have shed a few tears.
He has called on the government to take appropriate actions to hold those accountable for the political demonstration.
Within the laws of our country, mete out the harshest forms of punishment available under the laws of this country to deal with these kinds of people. And we call on the government also to set aside money from the budget belonging to Southern Islands province to go towards dealing with the cost of buying a new plane for New Guinea and restoring services as well as the government buildings that have been destroyed up there.
Pasca has strongly stated that Southern Highlands Governor William Powie and petitioner Joseph Cobble should also be held accountable for not controlling their supporters.
And they should be taken to task also. They must not be allowed, because at the end of the day, you leader, you talk, baliaram talk you. Now you know talk. Sometimes silence can be interpreted to say yes.
Melissa Guevara, National EMTV News.
Over 200 PNG Defence Force soldiers have departed Port Moresby today to assist in the security operations in Mendi's Southern Highlands province. PNG Defence Force Chief of Staff Captain Philip Polewara has confirmed the deployment. The soldiers are from the 1st Royal Pacific Islands Regiment's Charlie Company, who arrived in Mount Hagen today and will travel up to Mendi by road. These soldiers will assist police in Southern Highlands to carry out security operations to protect state properties. You're at National EMTV News. Stay tuned for more stories coming up after the break. Welcome back. A 28-year-old refugee in Manus has been charged for dangerous driving causing death. Police allege that Hayati Ghulam Nabi, a refugee from Afghanistan, was driving a double cab utility into Lorengau town when the incident occurred. Manus Provincial Police Commander Chief Inspector David Yapu said Nabi drove without a valid driver's license, carrying 6 passengers, 2 of which were women. It is alleged that Nabi lost control of the vehicle between Salasia and Lorengau, and the vehicle crashed into a mountain and capsized. One of the female victims, who was trapped in the vehicle, was rushed to Lorengau General Hospital but later died of internal injuries. Meanwhile, another refugee who was on board was charged for drinking on a moving vehicle. Both are in police custody and have been refused bail. The Papua New Guinea Defence Force will over the next few days establish checkpoints within NCD as part of their ongoing preparations for APEC security. The exercise will jointly be carried out by police officers in the Traffic Directorate. This is seen as a positive partnership between the two disciplinary forces in addressing law and order in Port Moresby and drill exercises for those in the Army.
The first 2 checkpoints, which were established as part of this exercise, were set up at the road leading to Taroma Barracks from Tuna Bay, while the other was put up between the 9 Mile to Gero Road. Commanding Officer of the 1st Royal Pacific Islands Regiment, Lieutenant Colonel Boniface Aruma, says the urban patrolling by over 300 soldiers is to give them a feel of what to expect during the APEC Leaders Week.
We will be doing urban patrolling. So we will transition into urban patrolling tomorrow onwards. And basically you will see troops moving through built-up areas, so like at the back of Gero, like Tete Settlement, Murata. And these are areas where considered Tier 2 security and those are areas that the military will be operating out of during the APEC sort of thing. So we want to get the troops out there and walk the terrain and get the feel of it, and then consolidate for the main sort of meeting that's in November. So,
while this may seem as something new for residents in Port Moresby, NCD Metropolitan Superintendent says police officers will be assisting the soldiers while performing their police duties. This means if there are cases of drunk or disorderly behaviors, or if drugs or offensive weapons are found during those searches, it is the police officers who will make formal arrests.
Every road check, there is police available. And for example, if they during the exercise and we found that somebody is transporting firearm, it becomes a police responsibility to take control of the incident. Absolutely.
This joint operation will conclude next Tuesday, but there will be ongoing military trainings outside of NCD. Thakla Gunga, National EMTV News.
Members of the PNG Defence Force Military Band have put on a performance showcasing musical skills they acquired in less than 12 months. The music instructor Katsuo Mizushina, a retired colonel from the Japanese Defence Force, says he's pleased with the performance. The military band will be performing during the APEC Leaders Week in November.
The PNGDF military band comprises of close to 40 young musicians. Amongst them are 8 female soldiers. This is the first batch to be trained through a partnership program between the PNG and Japanese governments. Through this partnership, 5 members from the Japanese government's Self-Defense Force Central Band had provided training for the PNGDF military band.
But we are training in Goldie River Barracks, and I teach them. They are the starting, all only beginners. Then I instructed them 1 year. Then they got musical ability enough. Then now they are very good musicians now. I'm very pleased about this concert.
At their first public performance yesterday, the military band showcased a few of their items. The song 25 Minutes Too Late by Michael Learns to Rock, and soundtracks from a famous American military march.
Military band has 3 groups of music instruments. One is woodwind instruments that includes flute, clarinet, and saxophone. And one is brass section. Brass means made by brass. Then trumpets, trombones, horns, and euphonium and the tubas. And one more group is drums and percussions, beating.
The instruments these musicians are using were given by the Japanese government in 2017 at a cost of 32,000 kina. Thakla Gunga, National EMTV News.
Sir Brian Bell Foundation has signed a 3-year partnership with Book Belong Pikinini to sponsor its library learning centres in Port Moresby. The learning centres were in fact on verge of closing for a lack of sponsorship, even as parents desperately raised funds to save it. Sir Brian Bell has agreed to sponsor all the 4 library learning centres, including the Special Needs Library for Disabled Children. Bougainville Pikinini enrolls 5-year-old children into their early childhood literacy programs designed to prepare them for school. Children that pass through the centres have been known to excel remarkably when they start out. The legacy of Sir Brian Bell will now ensure that over 400 children continue to benefit from the Bougainville Pikinini learning centres. 2,000 farmers in the Labuta LLG will be getting their cocoa seedlings on Monday, given by the Cocoa Board. Managing Director of the Labuta Cocoa Cooperative, Ruben Yapi, says it's an initiative they've taken to help local farmers and contribute to the economy. The cooperative has also been given 5,000 galip nut seedlings by the Department of Agriculture and Livestock to distribute to farmers.
This morning, members of the Labuta Cocoa Cooperative started loading the 30,000 cocoa seedlings onto this barge. They will be sent to the Labuta LLG in Morobe's Nawab district tomorrow and delivered to 2,000 farmers on Monday.
So it's a dream that we want to see it through. And my farmers are very excited and very happy. They're already working on the land.
50,000 seedlings were given to the cooperative by the Cocoa Board. 20,000 seedlings have already been transported to areas in the Labuta LLG that are accessible by road. The cocoa seedlings aren't the only crops being shipped. The Department of Agriculture and Livestock, through its extension work, has given 5,000 galip nut trees for farmers to plant. Acting Provincial Program Advisor Ken Elonaga says they are teaching farmers to plant both cocoa and galip nut trees to ensure that farmers can still make an income if the price of cocoa drops.
Helping more building capacity, like giving him, then when follow up, time in to our extension program, visit, training, all this kind of building capacity, because I want to new crop in introducing province.
Mr. Yapi says this will boost the participation of local farmers and also the quantity of cocoa being produced in Morobe in the next 3 to 4 years.
We are doing it in a small way to try and help our people in the village, giving them this kind of incentive so that they can work the land.
Lucy Kopana, National EMTV News, Leh.
This is Saturday's news. We have more coming up after the break, including stories making headlines overseas. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the news. Clan leaders from the Chingwam Rice Cooperative were taken to the Trukai depot to see how rice is processed. For the past 2 months, Trukai has been harvesting rice grown on the land. With the harvest, they are also getting paid for the use of the land and for the rice they have grown. It's part of a move to educate local landowners on the process.
This is the first time clan leaders from the Chingwam Cooperative Group in the Makam Valley are seeing where the rice grown on their land ends up. Trukai Industries has been harvesting since May, and each harvest is producing about 500 tons.
Rice depend on varieties. You got some variety where I'm taking all short time long karim.
When the rice arrives at the depot, it is weighed while still in the truck. And then the weight of the truck is subtracted, leaving the weight of the rice itself. Then the rice is unloaded, ready for storage and processing. It's a part of a chain that not many people get to see.
Not only lo family line something, but me come there too. Me can saw lo process lo our rice come na also go some monem.
How me play working lo up na come long here.
Earlier this year, Trukai began planting new fields of rice near Umi in the Makam Valley. This is now a collection point for all the rice grown in the valley.
We have a commitment in this country.
Yesterday, the clan leaders saw firsthand how the rice traveled from the collection point to the Trukai depot.
So at the end of the day, you may help long building country.
Over 6 years, Trukai has been increasing its local production, and this is partly due to the government's push to increase competition. Scott Waide, National EMTV News, Leh.
After 22 years of inception, Life in the Spirit Ministries Incorporated has expanded its ministerial boundaries to the shores of Australia. On the 16th of February 2018, this homegrown church ministry was registered and incorporated in Australia. This afternoon, International Overseer of the ministry, Pastor David D, and his wife arrived in Port Moresby with a certificate of the granted approval from the Australian government.
It was a historical day for the PNG Homegrown Church Ministry, Life in the Spirit Ministries Incorporated. Over 1,000 church members gathered at Jackson's International Airport to welcome their international overseer, Pastor David D. He brought with him the certificate of approval by the Government of Australia for the PNG Birthday Ministry to be incorporated as a church ministry in Australia.
22 years of birthing and nourishing and looking after this ministry, growing it in PNG. It has now landed in Australia and is now incorporated in Australia after 22 years on the 16th of February 2018 this year.
This is a historic first step towards the ministry's work to establish churches in other countries. It is evident that other countries have planted churches within PNG. However, not many in PNG have planted a homegrown church in another country.
PNG can now make a one thing in Australia. I'm telling you now, Papua New Guinea, that what we have grown in this nation is now going to impact the nation of Australia. This is a great achievement for this country and for this ministry.
What became a call to one man has now become the call of the nations.
And Christ's life is lived in PNG and is multiplied from PNG to the nations of the world. This is what PNG will offer to the rest of the world.
Their first church in Australia will be based in Brisbane. Lilian Soperakinea, National EMTV News.
A Papua New Guinean woman was arrested in Australia for her alleged involvement in a drug syndicate spanning 3 countries. As reported by Channel 9 News, 34-year-old Dulcie Bougainville Wichard was accused of being part of a drug syndicate involving over 300 kilograms of American cocaine. Bougainville has been ordered to surrender her passport after her appearance in court. Channel 9 News reported that Australian Federal Police had been monitoring the drug shipment since last year. Bougainville was released on bail and she will next appear in court on the 27th of July. Turning overseas for a second day, the Saudi-led coalition has attacked Houthis' positions in Yemen in an attempt to gain control of the port town of Hodeidah. But Yemen's Houthi rebels claim the foyer of the naval attack by the government forces say they're ready for a long battle.
They call themselves the Brigade of Giants. In reality, they're a ramshackle militia from the south of Yemen, armed by the United Arab Emirates, and they're the frontline forces in this, the biggest battle of Yemen's war so far. They're closing in on Hodeidah's airport, backed by airstrikes from Arab coalition helicopters. And they claim a humanitarian disaster can be avoided by not entering or fighting in the city itself. The airport is meters away, says this fighter. God willing, we will finish the battle for it today. A Saudi paratrooper filmed pictures of his comrades landing in Yemeni desert. An early objective of these Saudi airstrikes is to cut off the road to the capital Sana'a to prevent the Shia Houthis from reinforcing. The Arabs' real target is Hodeidah's port. It's Yemen's lifeline for food. And the fear is that any prolonged battle here could cut off some 8 million Yemenis already on the brink of starvation from foreign aid. In the countryside, Yemeni militia discovered this cache of missiles abandoned by Houthi fighters, though eyewitnesses say the Houthis have fanned out across Hodeidah itself. And they are firing back. They've released these pictures of an Arab warship, which they said they'd hit twice. The Red Sea is one of the world's most important trade routes, and the Houthis have warned commercial shipping to stay away.
Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex, has been learning the royal ropes from the boss herself. The Queen took the newest member of the family firm under her wing for a royal induction.
It was a day of new experiences for the Duchess of Sussex, and it began with a sleepover on the royal train to Runcorn. The Queen, you will note, had chosen today to wear green, her personal tribute to Grenfell.
Meghan, Meghan, Meghan Queen!
And then it was time to be shown the royal ropes. First stop, opening a bridge. Today's was one across the Mersey. You could call it a training course, and the leader was Meghan's grandmother-in-law, or as her family call her on official duties, the boss. But that doesn't mean you can't have some fun on the job, or that the boss wouldn't be unpredictable. First you don't know which car door to use, and then you find the Queen has shuffled along the seat. Safely in the car they moved to Chester, where it would be fair to say there were a few people waiting. And what the Queen did on one side of the street, the Duchess was doing on the other.
What do you think it was?
Induction.
An induction.
It was very much this is how you do things.
Here's the plaque. Here's how you open a bridge.
Yeah. Who better to learn off than the Queen?
So bridges opened, plaques unveiled, crowds waved to. The only thing missing was planting a tree, but that will surely come.
Uber Technologies Incorporated claims to be a step closer to a flying car service, and it's looking at Sydney or Melbourne to test the prototype. Executives are meeting government and aviation authorities to discuss launching Uber Air within 5 years. Some experts doubt it will ever get off the ground.
It looks like a scene from a sci-fi movie, but this is how ride-sharing company Uber sees our transport future. Flying taxis whizzing commuters to work.
It's uber cool.
Sydney or Melbourne could be the first city outside the US to test the new concept, with Uber executives in town to meet transport bosses.
There's no reason why we can't use the sky as a means of transport. A small number of people in these types of vehicles.
Currently, an Uber from North Sydney to the airport takes around 45 minutes and costs from $40. By Uber Air, the same trip would take less than 5 minutes and cost the same. The aircraft run on electricity. They'll have to be recharged every 100 kilometres and could be rolled out by 2023. The catch? Well, Uber Air would have launch pads on top of buildings right around the city. That means commuters will have to travel to those first before they can fly to their destination. Aviation experts are sceptical.
I think Sydney is probably the worst place that you can test it. You're talking huge air traffic control issues to overcome.
Many challenges. But, of course, with the right commitment, they can be met.
No doubt Sydney's frustrated drivers would be keen to skip the queues and go sky high.
True Guys Sports is next. Don't go away.
True Guys Sports.
Welcome to True Guys Sports. Australian fast bowler Mitchell Starc arrived in Port Moresby yesterday to join Cricket PNG for its gala dinner fundraiser this evening. Starc, along with 2 other teammates, unfortunately had to sit out the one-day series Australia as playing against England due to injury.
With the New South Wales.
Mitchell Starc was Australia's spearhead in the bowling lineup a few months ago during the Test match against South Africa. The ball tampering scandal that broke from that match was one that almost tarnished the reputation of the reverse-swinging bowler, though it was not exactly his doing. Even former Australian coach and one-time Hebel PNG Barramundi coach Jason Gillespie took to the media, hoping the scandal does not cause any repercussions for Starc. And now, 3 months on, Australia is slowly coming back from the scandal and the harsh backlash by the international cricket fraternity as they take on the one-day series in England. While Starc, clear from all scandal, hopes to recover from an injury soon to join his teammates.
Our aim for the 3 of us, I think, will be to be available for the Test series against Pakistan, which is in the last week of September. So just gearing up for that and hopefully back bowling well before that in preparation for a big test series there.
The 28-year-old will be making an appearance at the Cricket PNG Gala dinner tonight before leaving for Australia tomorrow. Dinero Striker National, EMTV Sports.
And to the Football World Cup, Latin American fans are winning the hearts of Muscovites, singing to the residents of the Russian capital as they arrive for their World Cup matches. Peru has qualified for the World Cup for the first time in 36 years, putting the Latin American country in the limelight and back on the map for more reasons than mountains and ceviche.
Interest in the city is growing as more and more Peruvian fans arrive in the city, with residents taking photos and joining in the party with the ecstatic fans. A bridal couple in full wedding dress even posed for photos with chanting Peruvian fans in central Moscow on Friday, stating "From Russia with love." The excitement to see Peru in the World Cup is somewhat emotional for some, and overwhelmingly it is safe to say this is a team that has the support of the whole country behind them. For a country of 31.77 million, it is indeed, and many have spent days traveling to get to the party. Peru is set to go up against Denmark tomorrow, and coach of the Denmark side, Åge Hareide, says victory over Peru in their World Cup opener is critical to Denmark's chances of progressing to the knockout stages, and they are treating the Group C match as the most important of their campaign. With France the firm favourites to progress as group winners, Sunday's match could be decisive for Peru and Denmark in the battle for the second place. Under Norwegian coach Hareide, Denmark have become more direct, preferring to move the ball up the field quickly rather than passing it out from the back as they did under former coach Morten Horsen. They were at their attacking best in the 5-1 playoff demolition of Ireland that secured Denmark's berth at the World Cup, and Hareide promised a similar approach against Peru. Hareide lauded Peru for the speed at which they pressed forward and attack, but is confident in his centre-back pairing of Simon Kjær and Andreas Christensen, and his side will try to capitalize on their height advantage. The Danes have gone through a rapid transformation following the departure of Horsen, who remained true to the nation's ideal of slick passing football in his decade and a half at the helm that ended in 2015.
Don't go away, Trukai Sports continues after the break.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome back to Trukai Sports. Still on the FIFA World Cup, yesterday's opener match to host country Russia, giving Saudi Arabia a harsh beating of 5-0. This makes Russia the first team to hold the top of the ladder in Group A.
The first score for Russia and the 2018 FIFA World Cup came 12 minutes into the opener.
Time from Salman. Back in again, free header! And Russia score the only goal of the World Cup.
The host country maintained that momentum all the way to the end, adding 2 more points to their scoreline in front of their home crowd and billions across the world watching.
Here's Cheshev again, the pass was a little short. Cheshev! Brilliant finish!
Russia will take on Egypt on Wednesday, while Saudi Arabia will sort redemption the following week against Egypt also.
Have the speed of a bullet, but that has rifled into the top corner.
Dinero Striker National, EMTV Sports.
To the second match of the FIFA World Cup, Egypt and Uruguay yesterday put up a contest that showed exactly why both are fit to compete on the world stage. The 0-all scoreline remained for almost the whole of the match until Uruguay executed a dying minute goal, recording their first win.
Nandez.
Egypt coped with Uruguay for 99% of the match until the last minute.
Fati. Well, that was travelling, it's headed over.
And Uruguay missed 4 scoring opportunities, and later a failed free kick made this performance one they still have to improve despite the win.
Has got in the way of his own man to deny Uruguay, and that is a huge escape for Egypt.
But the most memorable play that came out of this match is the header made by Uruguay's Jose Gimenez in the 89th minute.
Stoppage time!
That was the play that set them apart from the Egyptians. The winning play.
Unstoppable header. He's so good there, he gets in the way of his own team.
Though they stand second to Russia at the moment on the table in Group A, and they will take on Saudi Arabia on Thursday. Dinarose Raiko, National EMTV Sports.
Still on the FIFA World Cup, the Group B matches saw Morocco playing against Iran while Spain challenged Portugal. And the only team that came out of this match beaten was Morocco with a 1-0 lose, while Portugal and Spain refused to let a win happen as they drew a 3-3 at full-time. And that ends Trukai Sports. The weather details coming up next.
Trukai Sports.
The weather details were proudly brought to you by Dulux, celebrating 50 years in PNG and the only paint made in PNG.
Weather forecast for tonight and tomorrow in Port Moresby, Daru and Kerema. Cloudy at times. A few showers or mostly fine for Alutau and Popendita. In the Mamase region, a shower or two in Leh, a few showers in Wau, mostly fine in Medang and fine although cloudy in Wewak and Vanimo. In the New Guinea Islands region, afternoon showers in Lorengau, mostly fine in Kabiang, fine but cloudy in Kokopo, Rabau, Kinbe and Buka. And in the Highlands region, fine although cloudy in Mount Hagen, Goroka, Kodiawa, Mendi and Wabeg.
The weather details were proudly brought to you by Dulux, celebrating 50 years in PNG and the only paint made in PNG.
And that's been the news, sports and weather for this Saturday, the 16th of June 2018. Pleasant viewing and good night.